Hi, I'm Gregory Paolini, and today I'm going to show you how simple and fast it is to set up your Festool MFT table. So stick around. I really use my MFT, both in the shop and in the field. And despite the fact that my MFT has a lot of character, it's still going to cut tear out free and perfectly square, just like it was brand new. So to set up your MFT, let's start with the basics. First, position the MFT table properly. When you're facing the MFT table, this sticker should be on your left, and this stop should be on your right, as if the way you were using it. So I would normally be cutting on the MFT like this, the stop's on my right, sticker's on my left. Once it's positioned right, then grab all the components for the MFT and let's start assembling it. I like to keep all the loose parts in Assist 3. It just keeps them all together and keeps everything organized. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this hinge plate and I'm going to slide it in the back rail. And I want to go right up against the stop. I want to make sure that that hinge plate is up against that stop. That's a reference surface for me. Now the purpose of the stops is not to get the MFT perfectly square. The purpose of the stops is just to get all of the components in the ballpark so it makes squaring it up that easy. All right, I'm going to lift this up all the way, fold down the locking lever, then I'm going to repeat the process on the front side. Now, I'm hitting these stops a little bit harder than I would normally, but it's because I want you to hear them. I want you to know that I'm referencing this directly against that stop, so I'm emphasizing that. I'm going to lift that up, fold that locking lever down, and I want to make sure that these are actually tight on there, so I'm going to put some pressure down in there. If they were to move or drop down on me, it means these are a little loose, and I would just tighten them up right here. All right, but this one's really good. We're snug there. Next, I'm going to move into putting the track onto the plates and the hinges. So I just go ahead, position this properly. I want to make sure that this tab sits right in this groove. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide this track back onto this lock, and I'm going to slide it back until this hanging hole right here is split by the plate. That's going to give me the maximum crosscut that the MFT allows. All right. Now I'm going to come back and I'm going to use this 5mm wrench. It comes with the MFT, but if you misplace it, remember there's a 5mm Allen wrench in the handle of your track saw. We're going to just go ahead and I'm going to snug up the back one. Come up here, snug the front one. All right, and when I drop this down, it should drop right onto that locating tab, be nice and solid. That's what I'm looking for. If I'm dropping right onto that tab, then I can come back here. Now I'm holding the wrench this way, snug up this back Allen key just a little bit. All right, so this part's done. Next thing is we're going to move on to the protractor head assembly. All right, so when I take this protractor head, I'm going to slide it into the anchor plate. And I actually want to slide the protractor head back so that the apex of the arc on the protractor is even with the center line of the tightening screw right here. All right, that puts it in a real good position for locating the fence later on. All right, then I'm going to take this, put it right onto the V-rail here, and I'm going to move this over until I have between 2 or 3 fingers of space in between the back edge of my track and the inner edge of my protractor head. Again, that's a good position for that, and it will help with good stability later on. All right. Next step, I need to take my fence. There's two ways of putting the fence on. I can either stand the fence up tall, like this, slide it on, tighten it, or I can lay it flat. So I'm just going to slide that across the protractor head, and I actually line up this cutaway with the inner edge of the protractor head, just like that. All right? So just turn it until it's snug. It's going to hold that in place. You're in good shape. All right? Now what I want to do is I'm actually at the stage where I need to start squaring up the MFT. Again, those stops do not square the MFT for you. They just get you in the ballpark. Now I have to actually get a precision square and make sure that this reference surface and this reference surface are square to one another. So I'm going to start by lowering down my track a little bit. All right, lower it down a little in the back and lower it down a little bit in the front. And now what I want to do is I want to grab a real precise square, and I want to actually reference one part of the square against the back of the track and the other part of the square against the fence. All right. What I like to do is I like to make sure that I start with my fence at an obtuse angle, bigger than 90. All right. I'm referencing against the back of my track, and then I'm pulling the square and I'm pivoting the fence until it just touches. All right. The reason I do it in that format rather than starting with an acute angle is it's much easier for me to see when I make contact on the outer edge of the square than on the inner edge. All right. I really like this square because it's really tall. I hit both surfaces easy and it's long, so it's really easy for me to see when I finally make contact. That's perfect. I'm going to go ahead and lock that there. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my anchor. All right. This anchor gives you stability down here. So now I'm locked down on this end, and now I'm going to lock down on this end. I've got two firm points of contact where I'm anchoring this fence, so I'll really be able to use this MFT table to cross-cut a lot of material without bending this all over the place or bumping it out of position. Once I get this locked down, it's going to be square. It's going to stay square. All right? So when I put this on, a couple things I need to be aware of. There's a little lip right here, kind of like a little hook. That's designed to hook into the back side of the fence. All right? Thing is, if I'm not conscious of that, I could accidentally put this anchor on and accidentally pull this out of square. All right? Now, I've done this enough time that it really doesn't happen that often to me where I pull it out, but I still want to check. All right? It's always best that I check square after my setup as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take this piece. Little triangle shape fits into this groove. I go ahead and slide this in until I can see that little hook just pass. That looks good. So I know I'm beyond that ledge in the fence, and I'm not going to move that out of the way. Now I'm going to pull this lever, tighten down my anchor. All right. Now again, as I mentioned, I want to double check that I am square. I'm going to put that on, pull this back, and what I do is I grab the outside edges of my square, and I'm trying to actually twist this. I'm trying to see if I have any play. If I had any play at all, I would hear it clicking because my fence would actually, my square would actually not be touching my fence and my track completely. All right, let me show you an example. If I were out of square, I'm going to use my Allen wrench here to show that I'm not making full contact. When I come back, if I were to check, I would hear a noise like that. I'd either hear it at the outside edges or the inside edges. That's confirming that I'm not square. I'm going to pull this out now. Again, I'm going to check that I'm square. Nothing. So perfectly square. I'm all done with my square. I can go ahead and put that off to the side. Keep it there in case I need to double check. If I bang this with a huge sheet of 3/4 ply, I might want to make sure that it's square again, and that's convenient for me. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to calibrate my protractor head. All right, when I calibrate my protractor head, what I want to do is I want to make sure that my scale reads the fact that I'm at 90 degrees or 0 degrees, depending on how you're going to read this. All right. We know that the track is 90 degrees to the fence. Now I just want to make sure that the protractor head says that. So the way I end up doing this is I pull this detent pin up. I'm going to go ahead and loosen both of these set screws back here. And then I can move this indicator. I can make that read whatever I want it to read. Okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the detent pin until it locks into place. I mean, it kind of wants to center itself. And then I'm going to wiggle this until the indicator is pointing right on 0. That looks good. Now I'm going to snug up both of these screws. That's it. That's calibrated. All right. So I'm snug there, snug here. I'm checking all of these to make sure that I am snug. I know that I'm square. Last step is my stop. This stop is what gives you consistency on your cuts. If I needed to make a bunch of cabinet sides that are, you know, if I'm doing 32 millimeter cabinetry, I'm going to have a bunch of cabinet sides that are 768 millimeters long. I'm going to set this on. I'm going to cut one piece to 768, have my stop in place. Every single other piece that I cut is going to be the exact same thing. So the stop is critical. I just take this, slide it in there, put that wherever I need it. All right, that's it. That's how simple it is to set up your MFT table. Hope that helps. We'll see you again soon.